It began as a shadow moving through the revolving doors of Hotel Plaza Athénée, a figure draped in Dior's impeccable tailoring, slipping silently into the subdued glow of a December Paris evening. The date, December 20th, 2025. The event, Dior's Winter 2025. Confidential showcase, a closed-door extravaganza attended only by royalty, billion-dollar brand ambassadors, and the world's most elite fashion insiders. The city's winter air was crisp, the streets buzzing quietly, unaware that one moment inside the hotel lobby would ignite an international firestorm. Then the photographs appeared, at first blurry, taken through rain-streaked lenses, phones shaking with excitement. Within minutes, X, formerly Twitter, and TikTok were flooded with one explosive claim. Princess Catherine is in Paris. Social media exploded. Headlines speculated a secret royal fashion excursion, but the claim was false. At the exact same time, Princess Catherine was hosting a quiet, untelevised holiday event for underprivileged families at a Birmingham community centre. Verified photos, press reports, and logged evidence from her personal police protection team confirmed her presence with unassailable certainty. So who was the woman taking the front row seat at Dior? The questions grew sharper by the minute. Why was a figure using a restricted royal protocol access code to book presidential suites and backstage passes? Why did Dior's internal digital guest registry list the name Catherine Elizabeth Windsor? What initially seemed like a social media mix-up was escalating into one of the most brazen breaches of royal identity protocol in recent memory. Exclusive documents reviewed by our investigative team suggest this incident may have been the breaking point in the palace's already fraught relationship with Meghan Markle. Insider sources from Dior, speaking under strict anonymity, confirmed the mystery guest arrived via private SUV, flanked by a two-person security team and registered by a publicist named M. Avala. Her face was hidden under oversized sunglasses and a low-brimmed hat, but the moment she stepped into the reception, the disguise was gone, revealing a strikingly familiar face. She looked like Catherine, at least at first glance, one backstage coordinator whispered. There was elegance, poise, the quiet confidence characteristic of the Princess of Wales, but something was off. Too much makeup, movements overly calculated, gestures carefully choreographed. The entire presence felt performative. Within hours, social media speculation was on fire. Influencers declared Catherine had taken a secret glam getaway. Fashion blogs hailed the move as a masterstroke of silent branding. A single low-resolution photo, capturing long brunette hair and the structured lines of a white Dior coat from behind, fueled hundreds of articles in Britain alone. The Royal Communications Office at Kensington Palace was bombarded with inquiries. Is the Princess of Wales in Paris? Is this a stealth rebrand? Why no statement? The palace remained silent, but alarm bells were ringing behind the scenes. Within 12 hours, senior aides at Buckingham Palace had begun reviewing access logs from the Royal Protocol archives, a secure system controlling travel credentials, diplomatic clearance, and security permissions for senior royals. Confidential excerpts, reviewed by our team, reveal that a Class B Royal Access Code, normally assigned to HRH Princess of Wales, had been used to book the Plaza Athénée suite. That same code, RPA 119CEW, was later flagged at Dior's security gate and cross-checked against internal guest verification. In short, someone had either forged or illegally used a royal family digital clearance to masquerade as Catherine at one of the most closely watched luxury events of the year. As palace staff combed logs and legal teams consulted the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs, tabloid watchdogs began tracing movements, and that's when timelines started lining up in an alarming pattern. On December 18th, Meghan Markle was photographed boarding a private jet in Van Nuys, California. Her flight destination was not publicly disclosed, but aviation enthusiasts confirmed it landed near Paris on December 19th. Paparazzi at the Plaza Athénée observed a mystery woman in Dior couture, accompanied by a team of stylists, on December 20th. Meghan's stylist briefly posted a photo from backstage, only to delete it immediately, captioning it, "Backstage Perfection for Our Lady in White." Number confidential. Winter 2025. By December 21st, a leading French journalist confirmed what insiders had already suspected. The Dior front row attendee was not Catherine. France's luxury circles were reportedly furious at the audacity and the potential legal implications of the stunt. By December 23rd, Buckingham Palace could no longer maintain silence. Princess Anne personally advised King Charles III to demand a full audit of royal travel credentials and a review of security protocols. Prince William, sources say, was livid but counselled patience until all facts were confirmed. Catherine maintained her public schedule without comment. Behind the scenes, however, one aide told a BBC journalist she was quietly heartbroken, not over the impersonation itself, but because the world could have mistaken her dignity for someone else's orchestrated PR stunt. This was no ordinary faux pas. This was a calculated identity hijack executed with surgical precision, cloaked in couture, aimed directly at one of the crown's most beloved symbols of grace and composure. The scandal escalated quickly. On December 24th, a now-deleted Reddit thread titled, "I was on Meghan's Paris team, ask me anything," went viral. The anonymous poster, claiming to be a freelance PR assistant, detailed what they called the Paris Project, rehearsed entry at Dior, private suite wardrobe fittings, and, most damning, deliberate misuse of royal styling codes. "My job was to create an aura of royalty," the post explained. "We practiced lighting angles to make her look like Catherine. Makeup artists who had worked with Kate Middleton were hired. The goal was to spark media confusion without saying a word." Screenshots spread across X, TikTok, and royal gossip forums. The implication was clear. This was a deliberate stunt, engineered to generate buzz for an undisclosed luxury project. By December 25th, Dior's legal team quietly banned Meghan from all future events, fittings, and shows. A historic, unprecedented move confirmed by multiple fashion editors. Industry insiders reported that Bernard Arnault, CEO of LVMH, was furious. Luxury thrives on discretion, and Meghan's stunt, intentionally blurring the line between herself and a senior working royal, was audacious, legally risky, and potentially a diplomatic hazard. Investigations traced the Royal Protocol Access Code RPA 119CEW to a suspended palace associate, a former digital liaison during Meghan and Harry's final year as working royals. Premeditation? Undeniable. Internal sabotage? Likely. Someone inside the palace's IT security had been compromised in a poetic, almost ironic twist of fate. December 26th, Boxing Day, brought another shock. King Charles received a sealed red envelope from Princess Anne containing a letter written by Queen Elizabeth II before her passing. The letter warned of scenarios where unauthorized persons might impersonate royal family members for personal gain and mandated permanent expulsion from all titles, duties, and privileges. The directive, stored in Windsor for decades, now carried profound weight. By December 27th, Kensington Palace drafted an official communication plan. Prince William, humiliated by the impersonation of his wife, demanded a full audit of remaining access held by former royals connected to the incident. Catherine stayed composed publicly but was privately devastated. As a family friend revealed, she is not ego-driven, but witnessing someone hijack her dignity for a PR stunt cut deep, leaving emotional scars that lingered behind the poised facade. Meanwhile, Meghan remained publicly silent. No denial, no clarification, no legal action. Her official channels went dark from December 21st to December 29th. Rumours swirled that she had been in talks for a royalty-themed luxury campaign, now indefinitely paused because of ethical concerns surrounding the Paris stunt. She thought she could outplay the monarchy. Instead, she ended up blacklisted from both fashion and royal circles. While Meghan's camp stayed silent, the palace prepared to respond, not with fury, but with flawless, calculated institutional choreography. On the late afternoon of December 29th, tension hung over Clarence House like a storm waiting to break. Inside, Princess Anne convened a private emergency session, attended by legal representatives from the Lord Chamberlain's office and two of King Charles's most senior advisors. The stakes were unmistakable. Unauthorized royal imitation had not only shaken public trust, It threatened the subtle balance of family hierarchy and the delicate web of international diplomatic relations. Insiders described a room charged with urgency, where every word and glance carried the weight of centuries of tradition and the looming question of how to defend the crown's image without descending into spectacle. Princess Anne, with her usual piercing clarity, argued for a response that was deliberate, symbolic, and commensurate with the dignity of the monarchy. "This is not revenge," she reportedly reminded those present. "It is restoration. Restoration of authority, integrity, and the trust placed in us by the public." Later that same day, Prince William and Princess Catherine held a private strategy session at Adelaide Cottage, just beyond Windsor's gates. The discussion was intense, focused, and deliberate. They agreed that Catherine would not speak publicly. Her silence, her composure, and her carefully orchestrated appearances would serve as the crown's answer. Every gesture, every outfit, every public moment would send a signal unmistakably royal, leaving no room for confusion or imitation. On December 30th, the Wales family made a surprise appearance at St Mary Magdalene Church near Sandringham, joined by Prince George and Princess Charlotte. Catherine's ensemble was a masterclass in subtle symbolism, a bespoke sapphire coat by Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen, deliberately echoing the Dior silhouette that had thrown the media into chaos. Pinned to her collar was the Queen Elizabeth II diamond thistle brooch, an emblem reserved for Scottish engagements and sovereign messages of moral authority. Every element of her presence conveyed an unspoken truth. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was the living, breathing embodiment of dignity, authenticity, and royal authority, and she needed no endorsement or explanation. Across Europe, fashion editors immediately recognized the symbolism. Headlines in the Daily Telegraph proclaimed, "The original returns," while French media quietly celebrated Catherine's silent assertion with phrases like "Pas besoin de Dior," Catherine répond en silence. Yet it was not merely optics. Behind the public appearances, the palace had drafted a statement on December 28th, meticulously prepared and weighed with the full authority of the crown. It described the Dior incident as a clear and deliberate breach of ethical boundaries, reaffirming that only those with sovereign authority may represent the crown in matters of ceremonial styling, image, and protocol. King Charles, aware of the potential for unnecessary spectacle, ordered the statement shelved. He instructed that the palace allow the events themselves and the choices of those involved to speak. Princess Anne agreed but added a contingency. If Meghan attempted to deny involvement or shift blame to the crown, the statement could be immediately reactivated within 24 hours, supported by documents from the Royal Fashion Archive, including prior warnings sent to the Sussex household in May 2023. As of January 1st, those documents remained sealed, but their authority had not diminished. A quiet yet telling moment captured outside St Mary Magdalene spoke volumes. Prince George, barely 11, leaned toward his mother and whispered, "You looked just like her, Mom. But you didn't. She looked like you." That fleeting exchange quickly circulated on social media under the hashtag #TheTrueQueen, galvanizing public sentiment and reinforcing Catherine's unassailable position. The incident ceased to be a mere fashion stunt. It was now a public demonstration of who embodied the monarchy's essence. By early January, Catherine's allies had quietly begun severing all remaining professional and public associations with Meghan. Sophie, a trusted confidant, ensured that Meghan's name was withdrawn from a forthcoming Commonwealth charity gala. Prince Edward declined a request for meetings with a Netflix documentary team reportedly affiliated with Arch OAL Productions, cutting another channel of potential influence. Princess Anne went further, ordering a detailed audit of all heraldic imagery, wardrobe insignia, and stylistic material from Meghan's time as a working royal to ensure no unauthorized reproductions were circulating in commercial or public settings. This audit was far from ceremonial. It carried full legal authority, backed by the Royal Trust, reinforcing the immutable principle that unauthorized mimicry of royal imagery was not merely inappropriate, it was a violation of ethical protocol. Meghan's December stunt, designed to suggest a dramatic return to relevance, had the opposite effect. Catherine's silence became a fortress, Anne's precision a firewall, and William's restraint a warning to anyone tempted to challenge the crown. Even King Charles, reportedly weakened in health, issued an internal directive. All royal styling codes, ceremonial colour palettes, and brooch insignia were protected as sovereign representations, and any unauthorised use would be treated as a serious breach of royal ethics. On the morning of January 4th, 2026, as Sandringham's holiday decorations were quietly dismantled, a dark-tinted vehicle arrived at Buckingham Palace's south entrance. Princess Anne emerged, carrying a thin, red leather file that had not been seen since 2021. Known internally as the Monarch's Archive Addendum 7C, the file contained comprehensive documentation of royal branding restrictions, wardrobe protocols, and private stylistic correspondences, including letters from the late Queen Elizabeth II to the Sussex household regarding proper visual conduct and ceremonial decorum. 3 days earlier, Dior's legal team had contacted the palace via encrypted channels, nervously seeking confirmation that Meghan's appearance in her unauthorised ensemble had been sanctioned. The palace's reply was immediate. No approval had been granted, and the styling constituted a misrepresentation of royal heritage. The message reverberated through the French fashion house, not only due to potential legal or diplomatic consequences, but because it indicated that the Crown was preparing a formal, measured response. Palace insiders emphasised that this was not fashion. It was narrative warfare. Meghan had weaponised silhouette, colour, and cut to manipulate public perception. The red file reportedly included multiple classified memos sent to Meghan between 2020 and 2021, including a letter from Queen Elizabeth cautioning against replication of ceremonial formats, a July 2020 legal advisory warning against reproducing royal sashes or hats, and a 2021 note from Princess Anne addressing a copycat green outfit in New York. On January 5th, during a meeting with the Privy Council ethics team, Princess Anne issued one of the most decisive statements of her career. The crown is not a costume, it is not for hire, and it will not be mimicked into merchandise. King Charles authorised Anne to issue a final royal protocol enforcement letter to Meghan's legal representatives in California. The message was unmistakable. Cease all unauthorised styling. Withdraw any commercial footage or imagery that could be construed as royal representation, and confirm acknowledgement within 72 hours, or face public clarification by the palace. Within hours, Meghan's team scrambled. Arco LPR removed promotional materials tied to her lifestyle launch. Collaborators fell silent, and stylists quietly leaked context to the press. Dior removed Meghan from an upcoming campaign without explanation, signalling that the palace's authority was absolute. By January 6th, Hollywood media allies began quietly walking back public praise as headlines across tabloid outlets read, "Royal lookalike sparks uproar." The isolation was palpable and irreversible. That same day, King Charles, at a private reception in Highgrove, reportedly told Commonwealth ambassadors, "We no longer lend the Crown's dignity to those who abandon its discipline. That is not cruelty. That is stewardship." Within minutes, the words spread across Britain's major newspapers. Across the Atlantic, in Montecito, the silence was no longer strategic. It was survival. Administrative measures followed immediately. On January 6th, a notice was quietly filed with the Crown Records Office and the Home Office's Royal Affairs Division, marking the action as both administrative and irreversible, a reminder that the Crown acted not with drama, but with enduring authority. The early hours of January 7th, 2026, carried a sense of irreversible consequence in the corridors of Buckingham Palace. Within the austere walls, the internal communiqué bore a title that, on the surface, seemed mundane, but in reality signalled a seismic shift: deactivation of honorary titles and style privileges for the Sussex line. For Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, the royal freeze was no longer a looming threat. It had become a fait accompli. No PR agency, no celebrity endorsement, no Spotify contract could override the decision. Behind the palace doors, it was Princess Anne, the Queen's daughter and guardian of royal tradition, alongside Princess Catherine, who orchestrated what insiders describe as one of the most consequential recalibrations of royal boundaries in decades. They approached the matter with a rare combination of strategic precision and institutional foresight. With the Council on Institutional Integrity providing advisement, the palace undertook an exhaustive, multi-layered process. Every digital footprint, every public appearance, every promotional video in which the Sussexes had been styled in a manner remotely evocative of the crown was scrutinised. Experts combed through photographs, videos, press releases, and social media posts where Meghan or Harry were intentionally or inadvertently framed with Windsor-esque cues, the faint glint of a brooch, a particular cut of coat, a lighting angle that suggested royal patronage. Each element was catalogued, and each violation indexed according to potential impact on institutional perception. What emerged was a visual violation dossier, a comprehensive record of instances in which the Duke and Duchess of Sussex had been presented with hints of official sanction or mimicked royal protocol. The document also included an ethical legacy clause drafted by Princess Anne in 2022, empowering the monarchy to revoke privileges whenever public conduct actively eroded institutional dignity. On January 7th, the palace's legal and communications teams executed this clause in full force. By exactly 10 a.m., a formal communiqué, vetted at the highest legal level and endorsed by King Charles III, was released to the public. The statement was unambiguous. All styling privileges, title references, and heritage claims relating to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and their immediate descendants were terminated. In practical terms, Archie and Lilibet would no longer carry the titles of Prince and Princess. The styling of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, in any commercial or public context, was retired from use. Enforcement was assigned not only to protocol officers, but also to international media and press organisations, who were instructed to cease referencing the Sussexes in a manner suggestive of official royal sanction. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Within hours, Meghan Markle's public relations team scrambled to issue a carefully worded statement. They emphasised that titles were not the measure of impact and highlighted her ongoing work in philanthropy, media, and women's empowerment. However, the statement immediately fell flat. The RQL website masthead removed the Duchess's profile within 30 minutes, signalling that the palace's legal weight and authority had overridden any attempt at narrative control. Commercial and media repercussions followed rapidly. Netflix postponed a planned special featuring Meghan's lifestyle brand, while Dior quietly reassigned a prominent campaign slot rumoured to feature her as the brand's global ambassador. Industry insiders noted that the palace had effectively made any continued association with the Sussexes a reputational liability. What once had been a platform for visibility now became a minefield. The lesson was clear: silence and compliance were no longer optional. They were a requirement for maintaining relevance within the framework of institutional authority. Meanwhile, Prince Harry's personal world was unravelling. Observers in Montecito reported seeing him alone, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap, walking his dog along the cliffs above Butterfly Beach. No security detail, no entourage. Just a man navigating the public consequences of decisions made across the Atlantic. Back in London, Prince William addressed the matter with cold clarity during a private dinner with senior aides and Commonwealth envoys. His message was direct and unambiguous. This was not exile. This was structure. Structure protected the monarchy. Structure maintained dignity. Structure preserved history. His words were relayed to the press, not as leaks, but as deliberate signals. The crown was immutable, and the line had been drawn. By midnight, global search engines and reference sites, including Google and Wikipedia, had updated their records. Archie Mountbatten Windsor and Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor were officially inactive, and the styling Duke and Duchess of Sussex were no longer recognised in any official or ceremonial capacity. Even the Royal Lineage Archive, maintained meticulously by Oxford historians for over 150 years, marked asterisks beside their names. Across social media and news outlets, the same message repeated itself in thousands of variations. The Sussexes were no longer part of the active royal narrative. In a rare show of solidarity, Queen Camilla reportedly praised Princess Catherine for the deft management of the public rollout. Her words, overheard by insiders, were unequivocal. Catherine had maintained grace and unshakable dignity throughout a period of enormous scrutiny. The monarchy, often perceived as reactive, had become proactive. Catherine, silent in statement but loud in action, embodied the institutional authority of the crown in a way that no scandal or controversy could undermine. In the days following January 7th, Catherine's influence in public perception surged. Her schedule overflowed with engagements of substance, visits to mental health clinics, children's hospices, and a keynote address at a Women in Leadership forum at Kensington Hall. In a simple navy suit, without tiara or ceremonial sash, she addressed the audience with words that resonated far beyond the room. Legacy is not inherited, it is earned. Every day. The response was immediate. Standing ovations, media coverage emphasizing steadfastness over glamour, and a public perception shift that crowned her as the living embodiment of duty, resilience, and grace, the true heir to the spirit of Diana without the shadow of scandal. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, Meghan Markle's inner circle experienced rapid disintegration. Board members of RQL, along with key media strategists and philanthropic leads, resigned quietly by January 9th, citing misalignment and reputational liability concerns. On January 10th, a major US retailer withdrew its partnership with Meghan's homewares line, highlighting that any attempt to tie products to royal insinuation now constituted a legal risk. Even major streaming platforms and music distributors indicated that collaboration with the Sussexes had become impractical, a cautionary tale in institutional compliance and brand preservation. Prince Harry's desperate attempt to regain narrative control came on January 11th through a 15-minute Instagram livestream tagged #FamilyTruth. He insisted that character was more important than titles and that the palace was suppressing his freedom. The video reached 600,000 viewers before being removed due to privacy violations, but the impact was limited. The next day, Prince William's private secretary issued a single-line statement. "The Crown does not respond to threats, it protects the people." The institution had spoken. Negotiation was no longer an option. Public support surged for the Wales family. Over 120,000 digital letters were sent to Parliament calling for the inclusion of a Catherine principle in educational curricula, a case study on grace under pressure, dignity, and preservation of duty. Across the country, fresh white roses appeared beneath Queen Elizabeth II's statue, each tagged with handwritten notes expressing gratitude to Catherine and William for safeguarding the crown's integrity. The story had shifted from scandal to succession, from drama to preservation of the monarchy's enduring legacy. On the evening of January 12th, King Charles III issued a final memorandum to the Privy Council and the Foreign Commonwealth Office, formalising the retirement of all styling protocols and funding associated with the Sussex line indefinitely. "This is not punishment," the memorandum read. "It is restoration. May future generations understand this as a safeguard, not a slight." In an unscripted remark at Windsor, he added, "We must live in truth, even if others prefer illusion." Palace insiders confirmed that there would be no reconsideration, no reactivation of titles, and no second chances. In drawing this line, Charles had finally become king, not at his coronation, but in decisive action. The final symbolic gesture came on January 13th, not from London, but Montecito. Paparazzi captured Meghan Markle alone, stepping into a black SUV. No children were present, no Prince Harry, only a binder clutched in hand and a bodyguard trailing discreetly behind. Meanwhile, in Sandringham, Princess Catherine attended a quiet family ceremony. Kneeling beside a memorial tree planted in memory of Queen Elizabeth II, her children, George, Charlotte and Louis, stood solemnly beside her, all clad in muted navy coats. Snow fell softly over the grounds, and a royal photographer captured a single, iconic image. Catherine, gloveless, placing her bare hand on the bark, her expression calm, measured, resolute, not triumphant, not vindictive, but embodying the enduring strength of the crown itself. From Montecito to Westminster, the message resonated clearly. The line of succession stood unchallenged. The royal brand was secured, the era of ambiguity over, and for those who once treated titles as instruments of leverage, the crown delivered its ultimate, uncompromising rebuttal. Titles are sacred, not for sale, not for leverage, and never, ever for show. If you want to follow every step of this historic reset and witness the unfolding evolution of the monarchy, make sure to stay connected, subscribe, follow, and join the conversation as the crown redefines its legacy in real time.